tortilla soup, which is a really easy recipe with just a few ingredients, and it's great to throw together after work. Makes your house smell absolutely delicious. So all we need for this recipe is a big can of diced tomatoes, a can of black beans. I've already drained the black beans and rinsed them really well in a mesh strainer. I have my spices pre-measured, an onion, some garlic, and a lime that we're going to use to finish the soup with. So the soup is really versatile. You can also add diced chicken. You could add a can of corn. We're going to be frying up some leftover wraps that I have and making some sort of like tortilla chips to go on top. You can top it with sour cream. You can top it with cheese. You can make this recipe vegan if you wanted to, by eliminating the sour cream cheese, just keeping it really simple. You can also up the protein by throwing on some avocado. So it's a really great recipe to tailor to each individual family member. So let's get started by dicing our onion. So really the only cutting that we need to do in this recipe is just the onion and the garlic. If you don't happen to have a fresh onion or garlic, you can always just sub garlic powder and onion powder to make it really easy for the kids to throw together if you won't be home right after work. You can just have the onion and garlic pre-diced and ready to go, and they can throw it all in the pan. So really easy to meal prep and just have the ingredients ready to go. This recipe doubles really easily, so you can make a huge batch and leave it in the fridge for everybody to heat up during the week as well. Okay, so now we're going to mince up all this garlic. So just pop the clove of garlic that's partially peeled under your knife and press down. If you want to get wild with it, you can give it a bit of a smack. And then it's really easy to just peel. So once we're done peeling the garlic, we're just gonna start dicing and mincing until we get the pieces nice and small. So now we're ready to place everything in our pot. We're going to turn our heat on to medium, add about a tablespoon of oil, and once the oil has heated up a little bit, we're going to add our onion and garlic. So you want to keep a close eye on this to make sure that your garlic doesn't burn. So we're just trying to get the onions softened a little bit. So until they're translucent. So keep it moving around, make sure your heat isn't too high, and if it looks like your garlic is gonna burn, turn the heat right down. Okay, so I have a couple of large leftover tortillas here that I'm just gonna cut up into little strips and fry them in some oil. So I'm gonna cut them in half, kind of improvising here to figure out the best way to do this, to get nice strips, and then fold them in half again, and then we're just gonna start cutting. And try to make them as even as possible. So kind of end up with strips that look like this, about the size of a finger. So just keep cutting and kind of weighing them down. You end up.
Okay, so as you can see, the onions are starting to brown a little bit, maybe a little bit too much actually. I probably should have turned the heat down, but they're also starting to look glassy and translucent. So this is a good time for us to start adding our other ingredients. Okay, so we're gonna take our can of tomatoes, we're gonna turn down our heat a little bit, probably low medium, and we're just gonna start adding all of our ingredients. So that's our tomatoes. We're gonna take our beans. Now, you will have bouillon mixed in with your spices. So you're just gonna take your bouillon and your spices and dump it in and add 4 cups of water. I'm gonna be using a liquid bouillon, so I'll be doing it a little bit differently, but I'm gonna add the spices. And my first cup of bouillon, and then I'm gonna add 3 more cups as well. All right, now we're just gonna give everything a good stir. So now we're gonna reduce the heat. We wanna make sure that we maintain a low simmer, an easy simmer, and you're gonna let it simmer and let all those ingredients and all those flavors mesh for anywhere from 20 minutes if you're in a real pinch, up to a couple of hours. Okay, so now while our soup is cooking, I've just put a lid on it. It came up to a simmer. We are gonna fry the tortilla strips. So an alternate to this is you could just bake them in the oven, toss them in a little bit of oil and salt, and bake them at 350 degrees in your oven until they're crispy. I'm gonna fry them on the stovetop. So I've got my pan heating up to, I have it at almost a high heat here. A 1/4 cup of vegetable oil. You wanna make sure it's an oil that has a high smoke point, so you don't wanna use olive oil for this. So I'm just using Crisco vegetable oil. So I'm just gonna move the oil around in the pan. You definitely wanna wait until the oil is glossy. And a great way to test if it's ready is just to put a little bit of water on your fingers and just flick it onto the oil. And if you hear it sizzle, then it's ready for us to add. Okay, so our pan's nice and hot. Okay, so we're just gonna add in a few of our tortilla strips. Not all of them. Just kind of move them around and let them crisp up. So you want to keep a close eye on these to make sure that they don't burn. And then you're going to want to flip them the best that you can to try to get them to brown evenly. So I have a cookie sheet that I've covered with some paper towel to soak up some of the residual oil. So I'm just going to start pulling these out and spreading them out on the cookie sheet to drain and crisp up a little bit more. They'll kind of crisp up as they dry. And you're gonna wanna put some salt on them too, as well as they're drying, just for some added flavor. So the soup has been simmering for about an hour and smells absolutely amazing. So to finish it, I have a lime here that I've cut in half, and I'm just gonna squeeze the juice into it. So it'll just brighten everything and really bring the flavors together. Now to serve, you're just gonna scoop into your bowls and add your tortilla strips, avocado, sour cream, Greek yogurt, cheese, anything you want to top your soup with. Enjoy.